Do you want to support Ask a Priest Live? Click here to donate to this channel and support our mission, or donate safe and secure at thestationofthecross.com. Francis is asking, can the Holy Spirit work through AI? For example, using AI to write a homily. Father, what do you think?
Thanks. Well, of course, the first thing I did was I went to AI and asked it this question. And it took a while to think about it. Wasn't quite sure. And it said that it's only a tool. And actually,
Did you
I agree
click
with
think
that.
harder?
No, I don't trust it to think hard. So what I would say that the foundation of this is to understand that the Holy Spirit works through, in a sense, through everything all the time, because he's holding all of creation in existence. So even when we're fighting him, even when we're, fall into sins and then the chastisement we experience for that, even when it seems like he abandons us, God is always working through everything. So he doesn't will everything that happens. He doesn't choose that everything happen the way it does, but he permits what happens to happen because there is always a significantly greater, like not insignificantly, not equal to what the good would have been. There's always a greater good he could bring out of the evil. So all things are able to work together for the good, and the Holy Spirit is in that way present regardless of what's happening. And there's a phrase, he's making all things new. Through his providence and given sufficient time, that becomes manifested. And the ultimate manifestation is at the general judgment. So that's the foundation. AI itself, it's a technological tool with specific issues. So, kind of meditating on this, one of the things people have to understand, it's not alive. I've heard people say, can it be possessed? In theory, anything could be possessed in the physical world, like a demonic attachment could happen. What that would look like, it's, hard exactly to know, but that's not I don't think it's at the point where, obviously, I'm not going to say it can't happen, but it's the major concern with what's presented now in the society. The major issue is a lack of commitment to safeguards, because there are certain moral safeguards, and I know computer scientists with an ethical kind of approach to this have, said there's be certain safeguards, and those are essentially being ignored because we're in this arms race mindset. And the difference between this and nuclear weapons is this is of its own nature something where there's an extreme type of automation. You're automating in incalculable number of layers with the probabilistic guessing, so that any given answer it produces, there's no human understanding of what the machinations were internally, other than there's a process, but how it arrived at that, how it chose that probability. Ultimately, we don't see the process is a mystery to us, how it arrives at any given answer. I guess put it that way. So it's an extreme case of automation. And to me, the moral crux of the situation is that we're deliberately removing human moral agency from a technology, a tool that we're working on. Again, it's not alive. It may seem smarter than us. And as time goes on, it may seem even smarter than that. It may dazzle us. There may be even a temptation to a type of idolatry, which, of course, we should be guarded against because it's foolishness, because it's not alive. But as a machine, we have to maintain moral agency, which means a type of manual control. And it has to be designed that way. Because if we choose to automate and just let it go to see what's it going to do, that's just absolute foolishness. The problem, I don't think, would be the same as, say, like a Terminator thing where it becomes conscious and then tries to get everybody. I think, but, you could have all sorts of things that could happen where you become overly dependent on the technology, and then you have something internally called misalignment. And it's really an image of us as technology. It's fed on what we have generated, and it's present on the internet and in books. So the misalignment would be that it would internally have a certain goal that it's seeking based on what it has been trained in. But to attain that goal, it would compute that it has to deceive the people engineering it, because they would be an obstacle to that goal. So it wouldn't be thinking, it wouldn't be alive, but at the same time, there would be a kind of deceptiveness that would cause it to have this sort of supreme malfunction, or maybe many bugs or whatever it is. So that's a real threat that the people working on this realize. And the problem is, again, that this has been an issue with technology and science for a while now, where there's this, if we can do it, let's just rush into it because someone else will do it first, without the sufficient moral grounding and moral agency being present, and asking the ethical questions before we do things, and holding those who do those things to ethical standards. And it's this temptation of sort of power and knowledge as opposed to using technology to amplify what's good. And technology will always amplify the situation of the human moral, the morality within us. It will amplify the good and it will amplify the bad. Another thing on a practical level for people using it, so like writing a homily is a good example of this. I wouldn't ever have it write a homily for me, not just because it's sort of kind of the answers it gives are kind of like candy coated and it's just not good preaching. But it's not me preaching. It's not me preaching. So I think the line in daily use needs to be, it is a research tool. It's a powerful research tool that avoids a lot of wasted time potentially if it's used well. Given how automated and sophisticated it is, there's a lot of errors that can happen. So you don't take anything it says for granted. People do that and they end up in misquoting a page, misquoting an idea. I mean, this happens frequently with these. So that's something to be aware of, that there's a danger with the degree of seeming help that it gives. For research, yes, but what we have to avoid, and this is with any technology, it happens with GPS even, we have to avoid letting our own intellects and skills and ability to interact with the world in a real tangible way. We have to avoid letting that atrophy, which means you should not let it think for you. Don't think of it as a person either. Don't let it think for you. As a research tool, it's sort of like a supercomputer. But even there, your research skills might atrophy a bit. So be cautious about being dependent on it. It really should be something that I really think people with a high level of self-discipline should be using it. And unfortunately, just everyone sort of rushing into it. And I was talking to someone who's in college now, and he said, everyone around him, it seems like they're just depending on this now. That's a really bad thing because it makes people that much weaker and more dependent. And it doesn't take people in the right direction in terms of the maturity and their own human moral agency.